So I'm going to invite you to come down to your mats. First thing you will do is position yourself so that the weight of your sacrum is resting on your mat. So the sacrum, again, is that big flat bone at the base of your spine. It's a triangular shaped bone. And if you could mute yourselves, that would be really helpful. That way there's no background noise for anyone. And then we can all hear. I can probably do it, but I'm afraid I'm going to mess up. So if you could just mute your mics, that would be super helpful. Should be on the bottom left of your screen. So we're resting on our sacrum. You want to have a little bit of an arch in your lower back. That said, do not overarch. We will never ever come into this overarching position in Pilates. Not great for the lumbar spine, which is your lowest part of the spine. You're also not going to press your lower back down. We're going to get to this later. Right now, you're just going to find that happy balance. You can kind of wiggle around here and see if you can feel the weight resting heavy on your sacrum. That is what we call your neutral. Your lower abs should be relatively flat here. Your hip bones, pubic bone, everything's in one plane. From here, we're going to start with our Pilates breathing. You'll be taking deep inhalations through your nose. And then you're going to exhale through pursed lips. And again, deep inhalation, nice and slow through the nose. And exhaling through pursed lips. You're going to keep this breathing going for a few rounds. I'm just going to throw a little bit more of information at you. When you're exhaling in Pilates, you want to think of it as a forced exhalation. The way I like to describe it is as though you were filling a balloon with air or you're trying to blow air through a straw. So it's a very engaging, very active breath so that we can engage the lower abs here, the deepest layers of the core. We're going to add some pelvic tilt. So next time you exhale, you're going to tuck your tailbone and you're going to push your lower back down onto the mat. This is what you call imprint. Then you're going to release this position, slowly rock back so you come back to your neutral. Careful not to overarch. We're going to move with our breathing here. So every exhalation, you pull the belly button in, start to tuck your tailbone, press your lower back down, and then you release and come back to neutral. 2 more times. Exhale, tuck, pushing your lower back down. And inhale, come back to neutral. Just 1 more here. As you exhale, remember, pull the belly button in here. Imagine that you're pulling your belly button in so much that that contraction is what's allowing your tailbone to tilt or your hips to tilt. And release, come back to neutral. You're going to inhale next, reach your arms all the way behind you. And take them back down in front of you. A few more times like this. Just moving with the breath, reaching your arms behind you and taking them back front. Send your attention now to your pelvis. Make sure it is in neutral. So you don't want to overarch when the arms are coming back. You don't want to press your low back. So we want to have core stability here. We're capable of maintaining a neutral spine while moving our arms. 1 more time here. Just warming up the body and take your arms down. Keeping your arms down by your sides. You're going to go back to that pelvic tilt. Tuck your tailbone, press your lower back down. Now slowly, we're going to keep lifting. So you're going to keep peeling your spine off the mat. Keep focusing on that pelvic tilt. Slowly lift up. You're going to stay right here. I want you to check in on a few things. First things I want you to check on is your feet. Make sure that your feet are fully pressing into the floor. So there's a tendency, sometimes I do that myself a lot, for your toes to lift. Try to press your entire foot on the floor. Next is your lower back. Are you arching, overarching? If you are, really force the imprint, okay? If you're having a hard time getting to that imprint, lower down a little bit. The higher you are, the more your lower back's gonna wanna arch, and we don't want that. So you adjust here. Where is it? At which height can you maintain that nice tilt in the pelvis? Third thing you're gonna send your attention to are the shoulder blades. Are your shoulder blades flat on the floor? If your shoulder blades lift off the floor, you're putting pressure on your cervical spine, which is your neck, and again, we don't want that in Pilates. So those 3 things, very important. Your feet are flat. You've got that pelvic tilt happening, so lower your hips as much as you need to. Press your shoulder blades down onto the floor. That is your bridging position. It is your safe bridging position. So we're gonna move through a few of these. When you go down, same thing. Keep tucking and slowly lower down. I want you to really feel your lower back pressing down first. So you're passing through that imprint, and then you release to neutral. We're gonna do a few here, nice and smooth. As you exhale, pull your belly button in, tuck your tailbone, start by pressing your lower back down, ground your feet, slowly, slowly start to lift. You're not going past those shoulder blades. When you feel your back start to arch, you've gone past your location. From here, keep tucking and lower down. We're gonna do 2 more here with a little bit more fluidity, just so it can feel nice on the spine. You're gonna feel it in your glutes, the backs of the legs. They have to work to do this motion, that's normal. But there should be no pinching in the lower back. If there is, remember you're probably overarching your lower back. On this next one, I'm gonna ask you to stay up here. I'm gonna do tiny pulses up and down with the hips. It's really, really small because again, I don't wanna go into overarching. I wanna protect my back by tucking my tailbone. And if I start to do too fast a movement, too large of a movement, I'm gonna release out of that imprint, and then I'm gonna feel it in the lower back. And over time, that's not good. So focus more on small and controlled. Every time I push my hips up, I'm thinking about tucking a little bit more, right? Because every time you lower your hips, you're gonna release, you're gonna lose a little bit of it. So when you pulse up, think about tucking and tucking and tucking. It's not gonna change the position, but you will feel the work. A few more times, 3. I think someone's mic is still on. 2 and 1. Slowly come down. Taking your hands behind your head. You're going to take a deep inhalation to start. Tuck your chin and then lift head, shoulders, scapula off the mat. Stay here. Notice that I did not come up with my arms in front of me. That's cheating a little bit. So you're going to focus on keeping your elbows wide. My fingers are pressing on the back of my head to help support my neck. So my fingertips, not my whole hand, this is just my fingertips, that's enough, pushing into the back of my head, and my head's pressing against my fingertips. And that's gonna create some support in the neck, so you're not feeling in the neck as you're doing this work. You're gonna lower back down. And again, same thing here. You lift, as you exhale, keep those elbows wide. Think about bending through your breastbone here. And release. And again, we lift up. Exhale. And inhale. Keep going. Don't forget your Pilates breathing. When you lift, forced exhalation. Pull the belly button in here so your abs are engaged fully. And down. Let's do 2 more. Let's do 1 more. This time, hold it up. Tiny pulses. Up. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and release. Stretch it out, reach your arms behind you, reach your legs out in front of you. Give yourselves a good stretch. Imagine someone's pulling on your fingertips, someone else is pulling on your toes, and then release it. Come back to that same position, bend your knees. Your legs are hip width, hands are behind your head. Press your lower back down, lift up as you exhale. Here we go, pulse. 6, 8, 9, 10, 10 more, 10, belly button in, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Great job, everyone. Reach your legs out. Reach your arms behind you. You're gonna keep your feet either pointed the way mine are or flexed, as you wish. But I want you to keep the legs active. Pressing your feet down and imagine someone's pulling your legs away. We're gonna go into a Pilates roll up here, starting with your arms behind you. Nice and slow, reach your arms up towards the ceiling. Tuck your chin, you're slowly gonna peel your spine. We're not gonna go very high to start. Just stop wherever you can. Hold it for a second and then lower it down. Now, we're gonna do that a few more times. You're gonna go on your own pace. The goal is that eventually you wanna nice and smoothly roll all the way over your legs and then roll back all the way down. What I don't wanna see is using momentum, using your arms, or any sort of twerking, moving around, kind of shuffling your body around. You only risk injuring yourself by doing so. So listen to your body, moving slow. Once you feel you cannot go up any higher, that's where you stop. From here, you'll see if you can go a little bit higher, and then once you can't anymore, instead of tugging, just come back down. And that's how you'll build proper core strength over time. And release. Coming back down. Last one here. Denis, je pense que c'est ton micro qui est ouvert. Oui, oui, je vous entends. Non, il n'y a pas de problème. And coming back down, all the way down. Great job. We're going to go back into a little bit of core work here. Bend your knees one at a time. Starting with your right hand behind your head, reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. You're going to lift and twist. I want you to bring the outside, the top portion of your left hand on the outside of your right thigh. So you're twisting your body towards your right, staying in this diagonal. You're going to pulse. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and release. Switching sides, left hand behind your head, right arm goes up. You lift as you exhale. Here we go, diagonally, pulsing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come down. We're going to do one more time each side. Switching hands. You reach your left arm up. As you exhale, lift, twist, and here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 3, 2, 1, and release one more time to the left. Using your breath, pull that belly button in. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and release. Give yourselves a nice stretch again. Feel it in the core, hopefully. Bend your knees, take both legs in towards your chest. You can hold the backs of your thighs. You're going to start to rock and roll yourselves up. And eventually we're going to transition to a tabletop on hands and knees. So in this position, a few things here are really important. I'm going to walk you through it because we're going to be in this position a lot in Pilates. First, your legs are hip width, okay? And hip width is not the outside edge, it's where your hip bones are. So we tend, especially for women, we tend to want to open our legs wider for hip width. Remember, your knees are not in line with the outside edge of your hip, but in line with your hip bones, okay? That is your hip width. So position yourself hip width. Second thing, your hands directly underneath the shoulders. So you've got nice alignment between your wrist, elbow, and shoulder. Stacked, joint, joint, joint. Very important. Okay, for some people, this is gonna get uncomfortable in the wrists. That's not unusual. Keep your hands open wide. That's gonna help a little bit. And I'll go through more stuff about how you can change that because I know for some people it can be quite uncomfortable. But for now, let's give it a try. Few other things. Remember that overarching of the lower back. We're not going to do that here. So make sure you're engaging the core. You're not allowing your belly to sag down, right? Everything's engaged. This is nice and neutral. You can even use your hand as feedback here to make sure that, okay, I'm all nice and straight. Other thing I see a lot is this, right? Like kind of sloppy, elbows kind of bent, and then like people feel in their neck and their shoulders, and that's normal, right? So think of yourself as a structural building, right? You want the foundation strong and aligned. So firmly press into your hands. Notice how my chest is not sagging down. I'm pushing so much into my hands that my chest is lifting up. And what happens when I do this is my shoulder blades become neutral. They're not squeezing, they're not doing anything funky. My whole shoulder girdle is nice and in place and stable. Very important. So push up here. Other thing, we're never ever gonna do this in Pilates. So we're not gonna look in front of you. You can look quickly when you have to look at me, but then please always reposition yourself so your neck is nice and long. Okay, if you start to bend your neck back, you could feel pinching in the back in your cervical spine. Not good. So that's your perfect tabletop position here, okay? From here, I want you to reach your right leg behind you. You can start with your toes tucked. Okay, there's a chance that you've kind of wobbled to the side to get to that position. That's acceptable as long as once your leg is straight, adjust yourself. I like to use one hand sometimes to check where my hip bones are, make sure everything's in position. You're gonna stay here, we're gonna lift the leg no higher than the hip and then take it down. And again, reach up and down. Keep pushing into your hands. I want you to feel the length in the back of your neck. Almost like someone, you know, if you had a string attached to the crown of your head and someone were pulling on that string to lengthen your neck. That's what you're going for. At the same time, keep this lifting and lowering. I want you to not focus just solely on the lift, but on the length. So imagine that with every lift, you're trying to touch the wall that's behind you. I'm lifting, I'm lengthening. That's the beauty about Pilates, right? We lengthen a lot. And down, up and down. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more, take it down. Okay, if it's too much on your right wrist, you can release it a little bit and then come back to meet us when you're ready. You're gonna take your left hand, you're gonna place it palm facing up on your lower back here. Same thing here, up and down. Now this is a progression. If this is too much, you take that left hand and you place it back onto the mat. Otherwise, we're engaging the core. The core is what's gonna keep us stable and moving in control. Core helps with balance, as I'm sure you know. 3, 2, listen carefully. Keep that leg lifted. Now reach your left arm out in front of you. Careful not to pull the shoulder up, so keep the shoulder away from your ear. I'm gonna keep my back straight as much as possible. Pull my knee, my elbow in without rounding the back, so you're not gonna go all the way in, and then lengthen. And again, pull in and lengthen. Pull in and lengthen. Your neck is nice and long, right? You should be looking down right on your mat. You should be able to see your right thumb perfectly. 2 more. And we're gonna add still more progression to this. Next time you come in, round your spine. Squeeze everything in and then lengthen. We're only gonna do 4 more of these. And 3. And 2. Last one. And reach. Take your hand down, take your knee down, come into your first shell stretch. If you're familiar with yoga, it's the equivalent of a child's pose. Roll out your wrists, make sure you get any kinks that you may have. Get yourself comfortable because we've got to do the full thing on the other side, naturally. So, remembering your points of construction, right? Your strong, solid building here. Reach your left leg behind you. Make sure you haven't shifted. We want to keep that left hip bone pointing down. You're going to reach the leg as you lift and down. Full control. I'm getting you to flex your foot on this first part here because I want you to engage the lower glutes. So when that foot is flexed, it does engage the lower part of the glutes here, your butt basically, to lift the leg and lower. Up and down. 3. Pressing into your hands, neck is nice and long. Last one. Good. Now take that hand, right hand, on your lower back. It may feel completely different on this side. You are not equal on both sides. You're not as strong on both sides. You're not as flexible on both sides. And that's normal. Last 4, 3, 2, last 1. Hold it up. Now reach that right arm in front of you. Remember that shoulder. Pull it away from your ear. Pull elbow to knee in, keeping the spine straight, and lengthen. Pull in and lengthen. Where's your gaze? Should be down at that left thumb, not in front of me, in front of you. I know you have to look at the screen periodically, but just try not to hold your head bent back. 2 more. And we're gonna add rounding of the spine. We're only gonna do 5 here. Pull everything in, round your spine, and with control you lengthen. And again, pull in and lengthen. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1, pull in, exhale. Reach it with control. Take your hand down, take your knee down, come into another shell stretch. We're gonna flip back again onto our backs. So take your time to get there. Find your neutral. Weight resting on the sacrum. Reach your hands down by your sides. You can have your palms facing down. We're gonna start now though with our legs glued all the way in. So I want you to bring your feet together so your big toes touch, and I want you to press your knees together. You're gonna imagine that you're holding a sheet of paper, something, a quarter, whatever, between your knees. And you're gonna hold on to that item like your life depends on it. From here, we're gonna lift the hips up and lower down. Lift the hips up and lower down. We're gonna keep doing this here. You're not so much doing an articulation as we were doing in the beginning. You're just gonna maintain a comfortable imprint spine, lift and lower. Few things here. You're gonna, as you lift, squeeze your knees together. I want you to feel those inner thighs activating and down. Up and down. Let's do another 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 and come down. You're gonna walk your feet maybe a little bit closer towards your bum and then come onto your tippy toes. So my heels are lifted, but my knees are still pressing in. Keeping the heels lifted as high as they'll go, keeping the knees fully glued together, same thing here, lift and down, lift and down. Now, how's your lower back? Check in on your lower back. Do you feel pain in the lower back? Do you feel pinching? If you do, you've got to adjust. Maybe it's that you're overarching. Maybe it's that you're going too high. Maybe it's you're not contracting your glutes enough and you're trying to use your back muscles to lift, which is totally unfair to the back. Right? We're going to use the bigger muscle groups here, the glutes, the hamstrings, the back of your thighs to lift and lower. 3 more. Keep squeezing in. 2. Last one. Stay up. Front here. My heels are still high. I'm going to turn my knees out, not to its maximum. So about 45 degrees and then come together. And turn out, come together. Keep this going. Move slow. Imagine you're trying to squeeze something between your inner thighs. Squeeze it, pull everything in. And squeeze it in. Last 4. Once your inner thighs touch, give them an extra little squeeze here. 3. Last 2. Last 1. Keep your inner thighs together. Take your hips down. Take your heels down. We're going to allow our legs to fall open here. Be gentle, go slow. It's going to stretch out the inner thighs. You're going to press the soles of your feet together. Take your hands behind your head. Inhale here. As you exhale, lift and center and pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Give me 10 more. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come down. Reach your arms behind you. Remember the roll up we did in the beginning. Similar idea. This time we're going to allow yourselves to you can give yourselves a little bit of momentum. You may need to adjust your legs. It'll probably be a little bit easier if your knees are not bent as much. You'll see as we go along. But start with your arms reaching behind you. Press the soles of your feet together. You're going to come all the way up. As you saw, I gave myself some momentum. We're going to touch the floor in front of us. And then roll back down and reach behind you. And again, same thing. You're going to give yourself a nice rhythm here. You can smack the floor as hard as you want to, as hard as you need to. But I want you to touch it as much as possible. If you don't reach it, tap into the air. I don't care. A few more. Last 3. Last 2. And last 1. And come back down. You can use your hands here to take your legs back together. Bring your knees in towards your chest, rock side to side. We're going to still do a little bit of inner thigh work here. Coming back to tabletop. Back is pressing down. So I forgot to mention this, but rule of thumb, whenever both legs are lifted in the air, you're going to work in imprints, okay? Until your core gets strong enough. If both legs are lifted, you want your lower back to be flat. Rule for this class. So my legs are lifted, I'm pressing my lower back down. You're going to have the same position we had on the floor. So you can either have the soles of your feet glued together, or if you want, just have your heels together. But I want your knees turning out. So you're forming a diamond shape with your legs. Back is pressing down, hands behind the head. You're going to lift here, lift your chest. Stay up here, reach the legs out. My legs are still turning out. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Bend the legs and come back down. And again, lift up. Reach the legs, squeeze your inner thighs. Bend the legs, come back down. 2 more like this. Lift. We reach the legs, squeeze them together. Bend with control. And come down. 1 more. Reach and squeeze. Bend and come down. We're going to do it 1 motion. So you lift, reach the legs, and down. And again. And 3. And 4. 5. Let's go for another 5. Exhale when you lift. 4. 3. Squeeze those inner thighs. 2. And 1. And release down. Knees to chest here, rock side to side. Let's stretch out the core 1 more time. Legs reaching out in front of you, arms behind you. We're going to do a roll up here. Reach your arms up, tuck your chin, roll forward, flex or hinge over your legs here. Slowly stack your spine, coming back to your tabletop position. So everything that we worked on before, you're going to do it again. I'm going to change something though, and there's a reason why. So start by positioning yourself in your perfect tabletop position. From here, I'm going to ask you to walk your arms front, maybe a foot. Keep your arms where they are. Now we want to come and stack our shoulders over our wrists again. So what's going to happen? I'm going to let my hips fall front. That said, I'm not arching the back this way. I'm in what we call a modified plank. I like to have my knees bent. If that's not comfortable for you, you can be here, but I like to have mine bent. From here, check that technically my elbows, wrists, and shoulders, everything should still be in one line. I'm at a diagonal with my body. I'm not doing this, and I'm not here either, okay? So this is your modified plank position. Your arms are narrow, right? Because they're in line with your shoulders. We're going to bend your elbows so that the elbows start to point back. I'm framing my chest here and then push up. And again, we bend, push up. You don't need to go very low. You can go 1 inch, 2 inches. As you become stronger and more comfortable, you can go lower and lower. Push up. Moving slow. I'll let you know when to stop. Make sure as you bend that you're framing your body here. Like you want to hug your rib cage. My elbows are pointing back, not to the side. Back. Do 2 more wherever you're at. Do 1 more. Good. From here, just sit back. Keeping your arms reaching forward, keeping your palms down. You're going to tuck your toes and slowly start to push your hips up towards the ceiling, coming into downward dog. You can bend 1 knee, keeping opposite leg straight, and switch, and switch, and switch. Now try to straighten out both legs. Lift your heels. You're going to gently bring your knees to the floor. You can come to a comfortable seated position, however is comfortable for you. Legs crossed. If you want to be kneeling, just careful if you're kneeling that's okay on your knees. My only requirement for you is that you're not slouching, so find a position where you can stay with a straight back, okay? So you choose. You can have your legs out in front of you. You can sit on a pillow if you've got a pillow to prop yourselves up a little bit. That's fine. Only rule is your back, your spine is nice and straight. Keep your shoulders low. Remember that string I was talking about? Imagine you've got that string attached to your head and it's pulling you up towards the ceiling. So we're creating length in the neck. Your sits bones are pushing you down, so you're fully grounded onto your mat. You're going to inhale, reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Exhale, bending at the waist to the left. We're going to hold it here a little bit. You want to feel the side of your body lengthening and stretching. You go where you can. Maybe you're here. Maybe you're here. You can even come all the way down if you can. If the further you go, though, you're going to notice that hip's going to want to lift. If it starts to lift, you've gone too far. We want to push both sits bones down. Slowly come up. Take that arm down, other side. Once you get back to center, lengthen, stack everything nice and straight. Reach that left arm up, and then exhale. Hinge to your side wherever you can. You may go further on this side, maybe you don't. It's okay. Feel the stretch here, it should feel nice. And come back up, back into center. You're gonna reach your arms far out to the side. Imagine you're trying to reach for something that's on either side of your mat. Pull your shoulders nice and low, and you're just gonna wiggle your fingers here. The crown of my head is reaching up. My sits bones are pushing down. Shoulders are reaching away from my ears, and we're just wiggling our fingers a little bit. Now hold it here. You're going to drop one ear to one shoulder, being super mindful when we're moving and stretching the neck. It is where your spinal cord meets your brain, so let's be gentle. Come back up to center, regroup, and to the other side. Take it to center, release, just roll your shoulders back a few times. And front. Good, deep inhale here. Exhale. One more time, inhaling, taking your hands into prayer, and exhaling through your heart center. You ladies are done, or everyone's done. I can only see the ladies. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, comments, you know how to get in touch with me. I will post this up on the YouTube channel, so please practice, try it out as much as you want, and hopefully I see you again next week. Bye everyone.